Hope Mahoney isn't listening in.
I'm sure I'll hear if he does, if he is.
What time is it?
28.
So, Joe,
Yeah, Gene,
how are you doing out there?
we got 5 today,
What's your average day?
4 to 5.
Oh, that's good. What are they getting in the supermarket now? The last I saw was like on the 7th.
I wouldn't know about price.
They're $6.99 at Market Basket.
Yeah, those might be Canadian lobsters.
Why so?
They have different quotas than we do.
Uh,
All right. Looks like we have a quorum. So it is 6:30 on July 27th, 2024. And the Nahant Board of Selectmen are now in session. Okay. We will start with our many traditional opening comments. Some announcements. Hazardous waste collection days are August 31st and October 12th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's noon at the Lynn DPW. Certain fees apply. For a list of accepted material costs and more, visit the community calendar at nahant.org for more information. There's a metal, white goods, TVs, computer, etc. recycling the last Saturday of each month from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon behind the DPW garage. Nahant resident sticker Nahant resident parking sticker is required. Certain fees may apply. Visit nahant.org for a full list of accepted material. That's this Saturday, by the way. A compost area is open on Wednesdays and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. A 2024 resident parking sticker is required. Visit the Public Works page at nahant.org for a full list of accepted material. As a reminder, no dogs are allowed on the beaches starting May 1st through September 30th, except on Doggy Beach, also known as Black Rock Beach. Parking stickers, 2024 resident parking stickers are still available for purchase at nahant.org. Stickers are $10 each. All outstanding bills must be paid to the town and a census completed before purchasing. And I guess I will add to this that as discussed, I think it was the last meeting, those sticker prices are going up. I saw on social media there was some confusion about whether you need two stickers, one for up to July 1st and one after. No, you need one sticker. It's that the price increases by, is it 50, it goes from 15 to 20, is that right? On July 1st, I can't remember, Tony.
The proposal, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but the proposal would be $15 from January 1st to June 30th, and then it would go up to $25 July 1st to December 31st.
Okay, so this was explained last time, but apparently there may still be some confusion. So the reason for the increase in general is that those stickers go to fund a few different things: the general fund, the recreation activities, and the sailing program. and the costs for those things have all gone up, so the stickers should go up in proportion. So that's the reason for the increase in general. There's a secondary, the purpose for the increase on July 1st. Tony explained this last time to some degree, but it's partly to avoid a last minute rush, but it's in addition to that, our fiscal year ends June 30th. So when revenue comes in after June 30th for, in the next fiscal year, it has to be reconciled. It's a little inconvenient for our accounting people. They do it every year, but still it's better if it comes in the appropriate year. That's the reason. That's the sort of obvious reason. And the less obvious reason is that as I just mentioned, you have to have all your bills paid when you get it. So those are a bigger bill than just the price of the sticker. So if your water bill, for example, is overdue, that's a bigger problem than, buying your sticker on July 15th. So it is a way to help our accounting come out right by paying your bills when they're due, at least in the year that they're due. So just wanted to explain that because I did see some confusion on social media about that.
While you're on that, Tony, will that price, the sticker price, remain in effect after June 1st? I mean, should July 1st for the following year?
No, so the proposal would be that each year your price would be $15 for the first 6 months,
Okay.
$5 for the second 6 months. And as Josh mentioned, the idea, the concept there is to encourage people to come in before the end of the fiscal year, so that, as Josh mentioned, if you were to come in August to purchase a sticker and you had unpaid bills from prior to July 1st, and you pay them up in August in order to get your sticker, that revenue gets accounted for in the new fiscal year and not in the previous fiscal year when it should have been accounted for. So it helps us encourage people to come in earlier. But we put it out, the board put it out for a public comment period until August 7th. So any questions, comments, concerns, compliments, please email them into the Board of Selectmen and Kristen Taylor by August 7th. You can find their email on nahant.org. And we're hoping to get feedback from the residents on the proposal.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would encourage people to make the feedback there. We don't peruse Facebook or other social media for constructive criticism. Criticism we get, not usually constructive, but it's not a money grab. It's called being fiscally prudent and responsible. So that's all the opening comments, unless, no, it's not the only. I forgot to mention that we have the Nahant Market by the Sea, formerly known as the Farmers Market. That's on Saturday, August 17th and September 14th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. excuse me, at the Flash Road Park. To become a vendor, visit the market page at nahant.org for an application. Jean, do you have any additional things you want to mention?
No, just we'll be coming up on it fairly soon on the parking. Just a conversation about that.
All right. Now, how about you, Rob? Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, we still have a few mooring permits outstanding, so we'd love to get that wrapped up before we get too deep into August. So if you've been setting it aside and trying to remember to get to it, we'd sure appreciate it if you'd get in your current request for a mooring sticker.
I trust you're not talking to me personally.
I'm trying not to make eye contact, Josh.
All right. All
Hey,
right.
one question, Robbie. How's the ramp looking?
The ramp has been well managed. We see Danny down there on a monthly basis, and he really puts the time in to get it clean. So I haven't heard of any incidents where people have lost their footing down there. I'm very happy with the work they've been doing.
He's a great worker,
He
great guy.
sure is. Yep, absolutely.
And a small thing, but the lines outside the Wharfinger's office, nicely spruced up. So thank you, Tony, and whoever else made that happen.
I appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna have a joint meeting with the planning board in hopes of filling a vacancy on the planning board. So I think this is the time when the planning board should open their meeting.
Okay, Sheila Hambleton, Chairman of the Planning Board, will call the roll. So all planning board members, please. Jay Bianchi. Are you here?
I see him, but he's muted, swinging a golf club.
Okay.
They're taking the roll.
Hello?
Hello. Yes, I am taking the roll for board. So the first on my
I can't
list.
seem to unmute myself. I'm on my phone, Sheila.
All right. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay. Roll call. You state your name, please, and say that you're here.
Shannon Bianchi here.
Okay. Thank you. Michelle Capano.
Here.
Okay. Catherine Casey.
Casey.
Oh, Casey. Here. Okay. Sheila Hambleton here. Rob Steinberg.
Rob Steinberg is here.
Okay. And Steve Viviano.
I'm here.
Oh, good. Thank you, Steve. Okay. I'll send it over to you now, Tony, to explain the
Yeah.
process.
And is Casey, are you calling in under B. Rogers?
Yes, she is.
I am calling in under B. Rogers.
All right, I'm just gonna rename that so it's
Her name.
yeah.
Oh, do you know how to do that?
No, I don't.
Oh,
Just leave it. Just leave it.
she's got it, Casey.
Okay, thank you. So we have thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Josh. So the standard process
Thank you.
here is that the planning board and the board of selectmen will first vote to nominate the 4 candidates that have wrote into both committees with their letters of interest of being appointed to the seat. This appointment is a temporary appointment until the next election, where the vacant seat, the remaining term of the vacant seat will be placed on the ballot. We received 4 letters of interest from Harold Blank, Rebecca Flack, Tom Hamilton, and Josie Reese. I believe all 4 were invited to join the meeting tonight. I see a few of them on the call. And I think we can probably, if you want to streamline it, each board can, unless Dan, you want to jump in, can each board just move to nominate all 4 candidates with one vote?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so Josh, if you want to start, it would just be, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to nominate the following candidates. You have the
All right,
motion.
so I'll make the motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to nominate the following candidates to fill the open seat on the planning board with the term expiring April 26, 2025. Harold Blank, Rebecca Flocka, Tom Hamilton, and Josie Reese.
That's all I need.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we will, unless there's any discussion now, I think it's customary for the planning board to make their
I'll
vote
just
first.
do a roll call vote on your nomination motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. roll call vote on the nomination.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibbo, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye.
And Sheila, could the planning board make a similar motion to nominate the 4 candidates?
Okay, I will forward and say that someone please move that the planning board vote to nominate the following candidates to fill the vacant seat on the planning board with the term expiring April 26, 2025. Do I
So
have a-
moved by Shannon.
Okay, Shannon. Second,
I'll second it.
Second by Michelle Capano.
okay, Michelle seconded it. Shannon motioned. Thank you. All in favor of Harold Blank, Rebecca
Oh,
Flacco,
thank you.
Hamilton, and Josie Reese.
Sheila, you have to do a roll call vote.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so we have Shannon Bianchi, please, roll call. We have Michelle Capano.
Aye.
We have Catherine Casey.
Aye, it's Catherine Carey.
Catherine Carey.
That's okay.
Hamilton is a yes. And Rob Steinberg
Is a yes.
and Steve Viviano.
Yes.
Okay. Back to you, Tony.
All right, so the next part, we typically will allow the candidates to say a few words if they feel comfortable doing so about their interest in joining the planning board before the vote. And I'll say, just before you get to that, for all 4 candidates, on behalf of the planning board and the selectmen and the town of Nahant, we thank you for putting your name in the hat for this opportunity. While there's only 1 seat available, we're very appreciative of all 4 of you, highly highly valuable candidates for putting your name in the hat and for considering volunteering for the board. So I see, I'll just go with what's on the screen. I see Harold Blank. Harold, would you like to say a few words?
I'd be happy to. I think I just unmuted myself so I can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Now hear me. I am a 20-year full-time resident of the town of Nahant. I believe it's 20 years now. And yet a lifetime resident that I summered here many years as a child and into my adulthood as my grandparents built a home on Greystone Road, which I presently live in after purchasing it from various members of my family back in 2000. I am a businessman in the cinema business. I've been in the cinema industry for all my life. I've worked for large companies, small companies. I've worked internationally, living in Argentina for 3 years, developing theaters for an Australian company down there. And I did 3 or 4 years of work in Mexico, also for an same Australian company. Much of my work in working for cinema companies has been in the real estate development side, from site selection to lease negotiations to working with planning boards, both negative and positive in my life, of those who have been against me when I've tried to build in certain areas. I believe in looking at a basic SWOT analysis on many projects of what the strengths are, what the weaknesses are, what the opportunities of a business are, and what the threats of it are to that business. In the last 20 years, I have operated as an independent cinema operator with my own theaters. I own 4 locations presently on the shoreline of Connecticut and southern Rhode Island. And I also do programming for the Warwick Cinema over in Marblehead, along with consulting to the Cabot Performing Arts Center and other entertainment organizations. We've had a tough time in our business, obviously, because of the pandemic, streaming and all that jazz. But I think I could bring to the planning board a level of expertise, and I think a pretty good level-headedness of gathering information before making a decision. And I think that's important in any business, that you really understand everything about it before you are able to make a decision. And at that, I would love to be a member of the planning board, and I do love this town. It's a very unique town in the United States. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harold. I understand Rebecca Flacco was the next on the list here. I understand that she had a pre-planned vacation, was unable to call in today. I don't know if I know she's been an alternate member of the planning board. I don't know if Sheila, you or anybody from the board want to say anything on her behalf. I know she sent in a long letter of interest.
Yeah, and I'll just say that, she's been a good alternate. She's not had an opportunity to vote during our meetings, but she, has been able to contribute greatly for all the times that she's been at our meetings. So I do appreciate her, expertise that she's gathered over the last year that she's been with us. And I don't know if another member would like to speak up. Maybe Rob would.
Rebecca's been a very good alternate member. She's attended many meetings. She's made some insightful comments when she has made comments. Michelle was an alternate member, and she was elevated to this seat. And I personally like that practice of elevating alternate members who have shown themselves committed to the planning board and made contributions. That's it, Sheila.
Okay, Tom Hamilton, are you on the call?
I see a Tom. I don't know if that's Tom Hamilton or not.
Would anybody on the planning board want to, oh, maybe Tom, this is Tom. Or anybody on the planning board want to make any comments for Tom? I know Tom also sent in a nice letter of interest as well. And
I could read it. I think I have it. I don't. Can you unmute Tom, maybe? Can you do it from your?
I can, I clicked, I asked him to unmute. That's all I have. I can't unmute him myself.
Okay.
It might be a something coming up that on his screen. But we can come back to Tom as he figures that out. I'll see, is Josie Reese on the call?
Let's see.
I know Josie also wrote in a nice letter of interest. She was a member of the subcommittee on the housing production plan. And if she's on, feel free to unmute. All right, Tom, has Tom figured out how to unmute yet?
I don't know.
All right.
If you want, I'll just read the letter as quickly as I can.
Yep.
I'm writing to express my interest in being considered for the open position on the Nahant's Planning Board. I have significant experience in strategic planning from the public sector as a consultant with Arthur D. Little Incorporated and other boutiques strategy firms, and believe my experience and skills may be useful as the Nahant Planning Board addresses several difficult issues related to long-term planning in the near term. I have a particular skill set in being able to reduce very complex issues down into simple elements and build them back up into organized and focused requirements with which to develop a strategy to address. I can clarify what data is important, define how to turn it into useful information, and hopefully on to knowledgeable insights. My professional reference for this being past roles as a Director, Technology and Innovation Management at Arthur D. Little and Director of Technology and Product Development, specifically titled Head, Global Packaging Innovation. On a personal note, I have no political affiliations in Nahant and address problems and issues on a straightforward basis, seeking the relevant facts necessary. I am essentially retired from consulting and have the time and interest in helping the town where I can. Sincerely, Tom Hambleton. And I do have something from Josie Reese. If I'll summarize, she has bullet points on hers, and I will read it out loud. I would like to express my interest in joining the board in the event there are opportunities for appointment in the coming months. I feel very blessed to live in Nahant and wish to continue serving this lovely and unique community. As such, I hope to bring my commitment and knowledge of options to housing and zoning issues to you and the voters of Nahant. My background summary is as follows. She has an AS and JD degree from the University of Hartford, BA Economics from the University of Connecticut, MBA Leadership and Organizational Development. Her background includes current and former associations such as the Nahant Affordable Housing Committee, the Nahant Zoning Board Alternate, Fairfield, Connecticut Arts Council and Zoning Board, Peabody Museum Grants Board, Barnum Zoo Grants Board, American Classical Orchestra Fundraising and Grants Chair, Boy Scouts of America Board Member, Certified Contracts Manager, and it goes on, I'm not stopping, Certified Mortgage Banker, Certified Program Project Manager, Certified Supply Chain Manager, Board Member of the USA General Services Administration, Board Member USA Federal SBA, Board Member Habitat for Humanity in Connecticut, Board Member Battered Women's Shelter in Connecticut, Board Member NCMA. I am very interested in veterans issues also as a child growing up in a military family, married a military vet, and support the DoD in my current profession. I work for GE as a senior contracts manager in negotiation in the government, commercial, and international sector. I've been in the profession for over 35 years. I also have held many grants jobs, including Director of Contracts and Grants at the University of Connecticut and Yale University. I am hopeful that you keep my interest in mind and find me a worthy candidate for appointment. If at all possible, please confirm receipt of this letter. So sincerely, Josephine Reese, 14 Bayview.
All right, thank you, Sheila. And thank you again to the four individuals who submitted their letters of interest. So traditionally, we will have the board with the vacant seat go through their vote first. And what I'll do is I'll call on your names and you can state who of the four you're voting for. If before I go into that process, if the planning board wants to make any comments or deliberate in any way before we get to the vote, now would be the time to do so. If not, I can go right into the vote.
I guess I will.
Yeah, just quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sheila.
Sorry, and Rob did touch on it a little earlier. We do have, all these candidates are outstanding. And we do have an alternate position that's already vacant. We'll have to meet with you again to at least fill that position. And in our current practice has been to promote alternates who want to move from an alternate position to a regular board position. So I'm just making that as a statement, but anyone can vote for any of these candidates because they all are outstanding. So Rob, if you have something to say.
Oh, yes. I'd just like to say that Rebecca Flock, we didn't talk about her credentials. She is a medical doctor, very intelligent woman. Her husband is also a medical doctor, and she was very involved in the short-term housing issues in a very objective way, despite being an owner of a short-term rental on her own property. Just thought I'd pass that along. Go ahead, back to Tony, I think.
Sheila, would you like me to get into the vote?
Sure.
Okay, so I just have, I'll just call on the planning board members in the order that I have them. Again, if you could just say either Harold Blank, Rebecca Flacca, Tom Hamilton, or Josie Reese. Sheila.
Rebecca Flacca.
Rob.
Rebecca Flacca.
Steve.
Rebecca Flack.
Oh, man.
Michelle.
Rebecca Flacca.
Catherine Casey.
Harold Blank.
And Shannon Bianchi.
Josie Reese.
Okay. And Board of Selectmen. Do you care to deliberate at all before we get into the vote, or I can get right into it?
I guess I'll just echo what the planning board member said. We're really lucky to have 4 great candidates. Another this has been a common occurrence recently where we've had, you know, 1 vacancy to fill and more than 1 great candidate. So really appreciate the 4 people putting their names forward to volunteer for our town. And should there be a new opening on the as associate members, I hope they will keep their hat in the ring for that.
Okay.
Any comments, Gene or Rob?
Yeah, I guess I would like to parrot pretty much what most of the planning board members have said, and it also gives me the easy way out. And because we've got such a strong group of candidates here, it's incredible. But yeah, I'm gonna go along with the alternate progression tactic. I think that's the way to go, and I'd like to see that continue in the future.
Rob, you're muted.
Still muted. Oh.
There you go.
Oh,
There you
there
go.
we are. Okay, yeah, I'll go with what Josh said. It's really a wonderful thing that we are dealing with here, that we have such qualified candidates, and I really hope that one or more will continue to pursue an alternate position, because we certainly need all the help. And so thank you for stepping up and doing the town a big favor. It's a lot of time, a lot of investment. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll read your names in the order I have it. Gene Canty,
Rebecca Flacca,
Rob Tibbo,
Rebecca Flacca.
and Josh Antrim.
Rebecca Flocka.
Okay, so I have 3 for Rebecca Flacca from the Board of Selectmen, and I have 4 for Rebecca Flacca from the Planning Board, 1 for Harold Blank, and 1 for Josie Reese. So with that, Rebecca Flacca is appointed to the Planning Board. And with that, so the next thing on our agenda is we were announcing that there was a vacant alternate position. With this vote, we're announcing that there's 2 open alternate seats on the planning board. And let's see, we usually give 2 weeks for people to submit letters of interest if they want to be considered as an alternate. 2 weeks would bring us right to the next meeting of the Board of Selectmen. I don't know, do you guys want to try to meet again to take a vote on that night? Or would you like to have the letters of interest due that day and then we can meet, the following week, and give you time to consider the candidates that submit?
Are
I
you
would like,
asking the planning board or the Board of Selectmen? Or both?
Well, that's the planning board first, since it's theirs.
Okay.
I'm going to ask that we give sufficient time for the alternate. I am going to be out for a little while, so I would like to have our meeting be maybe September, and maybe the selectmen could meet on our night versus their night,
Yep,
if they're willing to meet on a Tuesday.
yep.
Sure.
All right, so why don't we do this? We'll say, for anyone that's interested, and we'll post this on the website, and like we did this seat we just voted on. Submit your letters of interest to the planning board and to Kristen Taylor for the Board of Selectmen by, we can say, August 14th. And that way, you'll have a couple weeks to review the submissions before we take a vote.
I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
All right, August 14th, that gives 3 weeks.
Tony, this is Shannon. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure. Madam Chairwoman, could
Yes.
you please explain to the public what exactly an alternate member does?
An alternate member has all the same rights as a regular board member, but does not have the ability to vote on the issues, but can, give input to the issues that are before us, and that they might, swayed a regular voting board member. So it's an important job.
And at what other times do we use our alternate members?
The other times are when we might have a special permit and there may be a conflict of interest, and a regular member would have to step down. At that point in time, an alternate member does have a voting right. So be special permit type of things.
Right. So, I mean, pretty much anything that comes before the board, if there's a conflict that the board sees to call on, that we feel like it is a conflict, then actually the chair has the authority to call upon an alternate member to step up and participate in those hearings. I think it's hearings only for voting purposes.
Correct. And they would have a vote then.
Great. Okay. Just to make sure everybody knew. Okay. Thanks.
We can add, it's a good point. That's a good point by Shan. We can add, we'll typically we would, but we'll add a little description in the posting.
Great. The other
And I
thing,
hope,
the position is being appointed to fill John Stabile's vacancy. And so then there is the vote that has to be taken at town elections next April. I think it's the 26th of 2025. And that only gives this person 1 year to finish the 5-year term of John Stabile, and they'll have to run again in April of 2026, but they will be on the ballot as an incumbent. That's all I wanted to say on that, because it is a long-term commitment. Our terms are 5 years apiece.
Do you know what the term length is for the alternate members?
I thought it might have been 3 years, or it's 2 years. It's a 2-year term.
All right. Well, I'll check it with you.
Right.
And we'll make sure that's on the posting as well.
Right. But it is a long term, 5-year terms.
All right.
I guess I just want to say thanks to Harold and Josie and Tom for putting your hat in the ring, and I hope all three of you will consider putting your name forth as the alternate as well. So thanks again.
Josh, this is Rob. We do need to adjourn our joint meet, the planning board segment of the joint meeting, and then we'll be done. I'm secretary, so taking notes.
May I say one thing before you adjourn?
Yeah.
I hope when we have our joint meeting, whether it's on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, we can also have a joint discussion about housing production plan.
Well, that's inappropriate. I don't think that's appropriate right now, Josh, for you to even be bringing that up.
I'm just making a suggestion.
Thanks
Chan.
for your comments, but I don't think that's appropriate right now.
You can decline it if you want, but I'm making a suggestion.
Well, appreciate your suggestion.
All right, thank you.
All right, I'm going to move to adjourn. And I need a roll call vote.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. First and seconded.
Second.
As Casey, Michelle, you.
I so moved it.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
Casey seconded. Thank you. So we have Shannon Bianchi
Aye.
and Michelle Capano,
Yes.
and we have Casey Carey.
Yes.
Sheila Hambleton is yes. Rob Steinberg
Is a yes.
and Steve Viviano. Steve, you there?
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. Thank you, Steve. All right. We're so adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, moving on. We have some new business. We have a couple events to consider approving. We have an event request from Swim for Autumn Beach Cleanup Day and an event for Friends of Nahant Sailing Program Harbor Cruise event. Do we have a motion on that?
So made.
I guess I'll read it with the appropriate details. So the Swim Autumn Beaches Cleanup Day on Sunday, October 6th, 2024, beginning at 11 a.m. And also the Friends of Nahant Sailing Program Harbor Cruise event on Friday, August 2nd, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Nahant Wharf and Dory Club, dependent upon signature of waiver by participants. We have a second on that.
Second. Rob
Okay.
Tittle.
Yep, thank you. A little background on each of these things. The swim cleanup day, volunteers will meet at the Lowlands parking lot and disperse to Doggy Beach and Short Beach to begin cleanup. Bags will be provided. We suggest volunteers bring gloves with them. Please read the description of the event attached. That's the part I'm not supposed to read out loud. That's the part I'm supposed to read here. It's opening. Sorry, taking a while. I'm gonna see if I have better luck with the sailing program one.
I have the sailing program if you want.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
on Friday, August 2nd, 2024, 5 to 9 p.m., the Nahant Sailing Program instructors, parents, Dory Club members, and Friends of Nahant Sailing are going to host a special event to raise funds for the Friends of Nahant Sailing to help Friends of Nahant Sailing continue to support the capital and equipment needs of the sailing program. The special harbor cruise event is planned for Friday evening, August 2nd, and consists of two main aspects. One will be to sell, raffle, or silent auction donated new items. There are some great offers ranging from Red Sox tickets to dining and other gift certificates, clothes, consulting, surfing, and surfing items. The second aspect is designed to bring people to the wharf that evening and to encourage parents and others to take up sailing as a sport, is to provide short sails in the program, Roads 19s, in the programs Roads 19s, 420s, and aboard Dory Club members' larger boats, ranging from 38 feet down to 19 feet. Depending on the turnout, we anticipate the sail to be about an hour. The program's power boats will be used to bring people to and from participating sailboats. Families are also invited to take advantage of the Dory Club picnic tables and patio to allow them to eat their picnics while waiting to sail and while entering the raffles or buying t-shirts and bidding. Live music will be provided on the patio.
Seconded.
Thanks, Rob. And then I did open the swim thing, but it doesn't really have anything more than what I just read. So meet at Short Beach. Well, excuse me, yeah, Lowlands parking lot. And people will go to Doggy Beach and Short Beach. Bags will be provided, and it's at 11 o'clock on October 6th. So that's it. We had a second from Gene. Any discussion on either of these two events?
Josh, did you touch on there's another sentence here, bags will be provided and suggest volunteers bring gloves with them? Did we say that?
I think I did read that,
Did
yes.
you get that? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The first time around, yeah.
Okay.
Abbreviated, second one.
One comment that I'd like to make is, Josh, that obviously our DPW does a great job as far as managing the beaches, but one area that they can't really get to because it's time consuming is that we have a lot of debris that gets in between the rocks that border many of our beaches. So the volunteers have a good opportunity to take time to inspect these crevices between the rocks, and there's an awful lot of old rope and wood byproducts and things like that are pulled out of there. So this is our chance to clean things up a bit.
Yeah, and I know that during these beach cleanups, it's sort of focused on Short Beach and Doggy Beach, but a lot of people show up, register. They do like you to register, and they do collect data on the types of trash that they find. And oftentimes people will go to their favorite beach or some beach that they know needs attention and clean up there in addition to the Short and Doggy Beach. So I'm sure that'll happen, and we can ask Swim to encourage that. On the sailing program event. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Robbie, you talking about the rocks and ledges around the wharf?
Not necessarily, just along even on Short Beach, that berm is all large boulders and things get trapped in there.
Okay.
You can pull a lot out of that. And for anybody interested, we Meredith and I were beach keepers at Dorothy, what we know as Dorothy Beach, and we always find a large supply of golf balls. So if you're into that sport, you might have a way of getting a little return on your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess the Friends of Nahant Sailing fundraising event, awesome event, fun time. I'll be there, taking people out of my boat. I see Mark Paddock's on the line. Mark, I don't know if you feel like unmuting yourself and saying anything. But if not, I'll just say everyone should come on down and have some fun.
Here he comes.
Yeah, we've already identified 2 or 3 boats that are the Dory Club boats, and we'll be encouraging more to come out. So, and it's everybody's enjoyed it every year. We've done it. This is the 3rd, 4th time.
Yep.
And people really enjoy it.
Yeah, come on down. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibbo, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. We have a vote to approve a police detail for the state primary election. Do we have a motion there?
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve a police detail for the state primary election on Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024 at the Nahant Town Hall, beginning at 6:45 a.m. and until the final votes have been counted and tallied.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibbo, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. A motion for early voting schedule for the election day.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the early voting schedule for the state's primary election that is occurring on Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024 as August 24, 2024. I'm not quite sure how that works. Tony, is that correct?
It looks like a typo.
Can I just stick with Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.?
Yes,
Be correct?
yes, and August 26th, 2024 to August 30th, 20.
Okay, got it. And August 26th, 2024 to
Oh,
August.
I'm sorry. Let's start the motion over again.
Yeah.
The word as, I believe, should be the word to. So it goes from Tuesday, September 3rd to August.
No.
That doesn't.
Is Diane on the call by any wild chance?
Hold on a second here.
Maybe I can get it.
One second here. Let me see if I
So
can
the
find
election
it.
day is the 3rd, September 3rd. So that might help us decipher this.
Right, but I
Oh, the
think
election is going on.
they do early voting and.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure if they're looking for us to approve a detail for that entire early voting opportunity as well. Let me see.
I think the details only on the 3rd.
Okay. So
And
then,
then,
yeah, I would go back, so then I would eliminate as August 24th, 2024 from the motion, Rob.
Okay. All right, just those words, as August 24, 2024, we're gonna take that out. I'll reread from the beginning.
Okay.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the early voting schedule for the state primary election that is occurring on Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and August 26th, 2024 to August 30th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Nahant Town Hall.
Seconded.
okay, any discussion? I hope not. But I'll ask anyway. Okay. Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibbo, aye.
Josh Effermy. Okay, we have a bunch of selectmen meeting minutes to approve. Anyone want to take that motion?
I will make the motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from October 12th, 2022, April 3rd, 2024, and April 17th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? I guess I'll just point out that there is one old set of meeting minutes that somehow fell through the cracks back from October 12th, 2022. So just wanted to point that out. But any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibbo abstain.
Okay, Josh Effermy. And I'll take the next motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen meetings minutes from May 8th, 2024 and June 5th, 2024. We have a second.
Before we continue, can you just explain, Josh, the reason for the abstaining? Because Robbie was not.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So Rob abstained because he wasn't yet a selectman on those dates. So that's why this motion is separated into two motions. One in the dark days before Rob Tibbo was a selectman, and in the brighter times, second vote while Rob was on the board.
Perfect.
Okay, so now I forget. Did we vote on that one yet?
The second one, I think you were in the middle of the motion.
Yeah,
On the second one.
yeah. Any other discussion on the second one? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibbo, aye.
Josh Effermy. Next up, Board of Health municipal agreements. We'll start with the motion.
I move that the Board of Selectmen acting as the Board of Health sign on to the North Shore Public Health Collaborative Intermunicipal Agreement for the Public Health Excellence for a Shared Services Grant.
Second.
Seconded. Oh, sorry, Gene.
It's all right. Slow on my feet.
All right, so Gene has seconded, and Tony, could you provide some details on this, please?
Sure. We also have John Coulon, John Coulon, our health officer, on line as well. John, if you want to unmute yourself and introduce Meg and David.
Thank you. Thank you for considering this this evening. This intermunicipal agreement is between 8 communities in southeastern Essex County, to which Nahant has belonged since its inception. I will introduce David Greenbaum, who is the Public Health Director for the City of Salem. And he is one of our principals in this Public Excellence Grant. And Meg is our program coordinator. And I would like to turn it over to them, since Meg is dealing with our Public Excellence Grant on a day-to-day basis. Meg, will you chime in, please?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all for putting this on the agenda. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. As John said, this is a collaboration of 8 local health departments. The goal of the grant overall is to increase the capacity through shared services that include staff and tools like inspection software. And so the intermunicipal agreement is basically the contract that lays out how all this works together.
And David, can you add, please?
Yeah, I think Meg did a good job of explaining what the intermunicipal agreement is and does. You know, as John said, I'm the health agent for the City of Salem. We are the host fiscal agent for the grant. And I think that, you know, participation in this grant does a couple of things. First and foremost, does increase capacity around public health. It increased services that a lot of municipalities like Nahant don't currently have. You know, I think you'll see some additional inspection time from our staff on the grant in town that you don't see today once Nahant officially signs on. And you'll see that will enhance what is going on in Nahant, as well as other communities on the North Shore, Nahant, Lynn, Salem, Swampscott, Marblehead, Peabody, Beverly, and Danvers are the 8 communities in the group. So, you know, we've been in this, as John said, Nahant is one of the communities that's been involved since the inception of the group back in 2010, 2011. And, you know, this grant is a bigger, bolder grant that came out 3 years ago and is now funded through 2027. And DPH has given us a, sorry, my dog, given us a promise that they're going to try and fund this for the long term, for the next 20 or so years is what they're telling us. So we anticipate that this is going to be a long-term funded grant. So we're excited about that.
How many employees does our group currently have?
So currently we have several employees. So there's 2 parts to the grant. There is the public health excellence part, and there's a training hub grant that goes along with it. We're hiring 5 additional employees to what we already have. So once we hire those employees, we'll have a staff of, I believe, 10 or 12. Meg, correct me if I'm wrong, but it'll be a pretty robust staff. It'll actually dwarf my municipal staff in Salem. So we're looking forward to getting this off the ground.
These are the staff that David is talking about, are regional staff to be shared as equally as possible amongst the 8 participating municipalities. Of course, Nahant is the smallest, and throughout this this collaboration's existence, Nahant has received equitable monies, equipment, staff approaches. One of the advantages of having the city of Salem participate as the fiscal agent is that the city of Salem provides workspace for the grant employees, so that the grant employees are officially Salem employees, but they are committed through the grant to serve the 8 communities within the grant. So it's a very forward-looking, self-sustaining as much as is possible kind of situation, kind of arrangement. The employees in the in this collaborative benefit as being members of the same pension as everyone else. They're getting a look at public health. They're getting support across the board. They're getting to see different municipalities in operation. It's been run across the state quite well, in my opinion. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, what's the total amount of the grant? I'm looking at the documents, but not seeing it here.
David?
In both sides of the grant, the training hub and the PHE Public Health Excellence, it's approximately 1.275, almost $1.3 million.
And that gets sort of divvied up by in proportion by population or some similar type formula?
So it's not a dollar value to each community. It's done through services. So we take the cash value and we hire staff that we then deploy out to provide services to the communities within the grant. So you won't see it in the dollar value, but you'll see it in enhanced increased services in the town of Nahant. You'll see, for instance, you'll see increased food inspections, or if John needs assistance with housing inspections, or I don't know, John, something that you guys may be lacking in over in Nahant, you'll see those increase over there that he may not have the time or the ability to get to. So,
and that's just within the inspectional area.
Right.
This collaboration also has a nursing position and a social worker position, and the position that Meg fulfills, coordinating not only the other 3 positions, but also looking to sustain the grant and having not only regional but statewide communications to make sure that we are not operating as our own fiefdom, but as a piece or a member of the Public Health Excellence grant groups across the state.
Hey, John, what are these employees specifically, and what responsibilities do they have, financial and non-financial, as they work with the towns?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean, Gene. Could you restate it?
Yeah. What responsibilities do these employees, the 10 or 12 that will be assigned, have to each of the communities, financial or non-financial?
Essentially,
to write grants or to provide services?
Well, Gene, so
go ahead, Tony.
So John, as our health agent, and Anna McNicholas as our public health nurse are both stipend positions. They're not full-time employees for the town of Nahant. So by joining in this regional effort, we now have access to full-time employees in those fields, which allow us to lean on them if we need assistance, if we have a higher caseload than normal, if John or Anna are not available. We can, utilize this regional effort to help us with those those responsibilities that they carry for our town. And then as far as grants or other policy, and Dave, feel free to jump in on this, but as a regional group of multiple communities, we have a larger voice in speaking with the state Department of Health when we're either applying for grants or, advocating in favor or against certain legislation or policy decisions.
I would agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I think, Meg, I know it looks like you want to say something, but I just want to add on the training hub side. The training hub side is going to take new inspectors as well as seasoned inspectors and people in the field and train them so that the inspection part of it is standardized across the Commonwealth. So you won't be hearing, well, I worked in, or I had a place in Salem and they didn't do that in Peabody, or vice versa. When I was in Peabody, they didn't do that in Salem. So when you're doing an inspection in one community, from community to community, you're getting the same type of service that you're getting next door. And that's a huge goal of this grant, is to standardize how we deliver public health services across, municipal boundaries.
And, just to add an example of what we have done in Nahant, so we were able to apply for a grant with the National Council on Aging. So if any of you got your flu shots at the town hall in the fall, the epidemiologist and myself were there giving out market basket gift cards. So it was one example. And then Nahant's nurse recently went on vacation, and our epidemiologist was able to cover some whooping cough cases. It came through the state reporting database.
Well, I guess my question with a little more specificity, John, was will we have some of those employees writing grants for the town of Nahant?
Well, the employees who are writing grants are writing grants for the group of 8 municipalities, of which Nahant is one.
Okay.
It is possible to request, and Meg and David, let me know if I'm going off here in the wrong direction, but it is certainly possible to request assistance writing a grant that is public health oriented if assistance is needed. Now, it may not be possible at that time. However, the help might be available. That is something we can request, but I do not see the day where a grant writer will be assigned to Nahant specifically.
Right. I think the town administrator is right that it gives us a stronger voice to apply for additional grants as this regional collaborative, and get additional monies to create other programs in public health across these 8 municipalities. And I've been in public health a long time. John's been in public health a long time. We've worked in this initiative for many, many years together, and these 8 communities work very, very well together.
David, can you say off the top of your head how many grants this group of 8 has acquired and managed since our inception about 14, 15 years ago?
John, it's a lot. I couldn't say exactly, but especially through COVID, there were a number that came out through COVID that we all, collaborated on, contact tracing, vaccination efforts. We did the initial DIG grant, the district incentive grant, that this grant became like I said, the stronger, more potent grant too. We did some safety grants. We did rodent control grants. Those are just a few that I can think of off the top of my head. But this initiative here is, this initiative here really is, it's born out of the special committee's, recommendations on public health. It's Commonwealth wide. We are not the only group that's doing this. There are, 300 municipalities that are involved in these public health excellence grants across the Commonwealth. And it's really not about taking, a municipality's individuality or authority away. It's about creating cross-municipal collaborations and maintaining a municipality's individuality, authority, and just bolstering public health in a way that's never been done in Massachusetts. I think we all know Massachusetts is pretty unique, right? We have 351 sovereign cities and towns. We don't like to be told how to do things in our cities and towns. We all know best for our individual communities. This is one of those opportunities where working together actually strengthens what we do, in particular in public health. I've been hesitant around these things in the past, but this one is one of those things that I will get out in front of and say, this is an opportunity for us to really do something special in the field of public health in particular.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sounds interesting. I guess one upcoming scenario in which feels like this could be beneficial is as we register short-term rentals in the coming up, the workload is going to go from 0 to something on the order of 40 because to be registered with the town, every single one of these short-term rentals is going to have to go through a health inspection. Where John's stipend is covering, a workload of 0 on those kinds of things, it's suddenly going to be 40 or something like that. So that sounds like a scenario that a program like this could help Nahant.
And additionally, how we do annually, we'll do our flu shots on an annual basis. That's another scenario where, we're able to utilize nurses from other communities, which will help us, run that program where we might not be able to do it on our own.
Right.
So.
And this program, just as an update, one of the things that the state charged us with is they want to see these programs hiring more staff. They're giving us a pretty good deal of money. They don't want to see us buying as much equipment, but equipment that's necessary to provide the staff to do the jobs that they're hired to do. So when we wrote our budget and work plan for this year, we decided that we were going to ask for an additional inspector and an additional nurse. We were currently approved for 1 nurse and a part-time nurse. So we have 1.5 FTEs in nursing. We're going to have 2.5 FTEs in nursing. So this program will have 2.5 nurses on top of whatever every community has already. And I think it's just important to note that, that's one of the requirements of the grant is that every community agrees that they will maintain whatever staffing levels they have, whatever funding levels they have for public health. And they won't supplant those funding levels with this grant. And I don't see that being a problem. I think, as I think I've said, that these 8 communities are pretty, they're pretty devoted to public health, and we all do get along pretty well. We relied on each other immensely throughout the pandemic, and we really carried each other through, I think. So if it weren't for all of us, I think we'd all be out on the street looking for something else to do, because it was a very, very difficult period of time for all of us.
Yeah, thanks. I guess, it's incumbent upon Nahant to make sure we leverage, take advantage of every opportunity that this allows us. So.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, David. David, thank you to the mayor and his team as well.
Tony, you've got 2 intermunicipal agreements before you. We were just speaking of in the first one, the more comprehensive one, and you've also got one regarding a food inspectional software package.
Mm-hmm. So right now we have a motion on the floor for the first one, which is the intermunicipal agreement. So why don't we take a vote on that first? If the board is
before
ready
you
to
vote, any further discussion, Gene or Rob?
No.
Yep, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, roll call vote.
Dean Canty, aye.
Rob Tibbo, aye.
Josh Eflin, aye.
So the other item that John's
Okay.
talking about, which is in your packet, I don't think you have a motion in
Yeah.
front of you, but
We
this is
don't, yeah.
this is a
I
it's a
was reading
service
the
agreement.
thing about the software, and I was trying to figure out how does this dovetail with this agreement, so.
I don't think it's necessary for you guys to vote on it, but it doesn't hurt. This is a software as a service agreement with Relevant Systems. John, do you want to explain what that software allows us to do?
I could, but I have more faith in David at this moment.
Go ahead, David.
John, I'm happy to take it. So,
Sure.
Relevant Systems is they're a company that came out of a consulting firm that does public health consulting. They created this software to do restaurant inspections as well as housing inspections. They also have some other inspection software to do the other things that we do: body art, pools, some other facilities that we inspect. So right now we've purchased the Housing Code Pro and the Food Code Pro programs for the collaborative. What this program does, which I'm pretty impressed with, is you can go in to a facility, take a picture on an iPad, and then you can use the voice to talk feature on the iPad to dictate what the violation is. My staff has used it for about a month now. They really like it because it cuts down the time that they take to write a report by about 60%, I'd say. Where they would spend 45 minutes to an hour doing an inspection and spend an hour and a half to 2 hours writing a report, they're spending 45 minutes to an hour doing an inspection and then half an hour writing a report. Their productivity is up easily 75% using this software. The contract or the agreement that's in front of you tonight is with Relevant for us as part of this collaborative and under this contract to pay for the service agreement as long as this, grant is in effect. And as I said earlier, the state has told us that their intention is to fund this grant for the long term. They did fund it through 2027. They're paying us up front for the 3 years as opposed to a renegotiation every year. So, once we iron out the details with Nahant, we'll be eligible to get our money for the first year. So we look forward to having this ready to go in Nahant as soon as we can get those funds to pay for it. I really like it. I've been pushing for inspection software for about 15 years in my career, in particular in Salem. And it's finally come to fruition on something that I think is really user-friendly. It seems to really work well. And as I said, my staff really, really likes it. So, it's not anything that Nahant is going to have to pay. God forbid if something happens with the grant and it goes away, then Nahant at that time can make the determination if they want to stay with this program or if they want to let it go. And that would be Nahant's decision, I would say I would advocate to keep it. But again, that's a budgetary decision that each community is going to have to make because it is an expense. So I'm happy to answer questions.
David, earlier, with regard to the other intermunicipal agreement, you spoke of standardizing our approaches to public health. And can you speak a little bit about how Relevant and Food Code Pro, Housing Code Pro, and the others that are coming is going to usher in a more standardized approach?
So in my opinion, it does two things. It gives you the code reference right in the violation notice. So you'll be able to have a drop-down screen. You can pick the appropriate code violation. So there's no wiggle room about what it is the violation is. And then the information that you add in is, you can put in whatever you want, but the language can be pretty standard. The other thing it does is it helps us gather data about what kind of violations we see. And that will be across the 8 municipalities or 7 municipalities, because I think one decided to stay with the previous program that we had purchased before. But it's going to work as a data collection tool. The other thing about this program is the State Department of Public Health uses it. So that's one of the other reasons I liked it, is because we have some information from DPH to say, you know, this is actually a good tool, and it looks like it works really well. We had some other departments. I knew Marblehead used it. I think Milton was using it. So we had some feedback from other communities about the use, and it got some really good reviews from what we had heard.
David, what is needed from Nahant in order to complete the group's adoption of Relevance Code Pro package, the Housing and Food Code Pro?
My understanding is just the signing of the user agreement. Is that correct, Meg?
Yeah.
And it's ready to go, you know, so the inspector that we have on staff already has the licenses to be able to use. He's trained on how to use it. He would be able to use it, as you said, in instances of inspecting those short-term rentals. And he could issue reports straight to those operators on site through email or a mobile printer if need be. You know, it's
so David, correct me if I'm wrong, but if the selectmen were to go on the record as accepting Nahant's membership in this group for the purposes of the relevant software, then would the town administrator be able to represent them signing the contract?
I believe so, but I think that's a question for the attorney in the room.
I think the Town Administrator Act authorizes me to execute the contract. But given that this is a Board of Health function or element of the Board of Health, and the Board of Selectmen is also our Board of Health.
Right.
In times in the past, what they've done is they've authorized me as the Town Administrator to execute the contract. So if the Board of Selectmen are comfortable with that, I can read a motion along those lines.
Can I just ask one other question? Can the board of the town prioritize where these software programs would be used? In other words, normal household inspections versus short-term rental?
So they're set up for code enforcement. The Housing Code Pro is for it. It can be used for complaint-based or pre-rental inspections. We plan to use it in Salem for both, because we do also have a short-term rental ordinance as well as a pre-rental ordinance. We have about 300 short-term rentals, so we have quite a few of them as well. And we use it in restaurants. So the restaurants, you know, you can do a variety of inspections. You can do a routine inspection, you can do a re-inspection, you can do a pre-operational inspection, you can do a food-based complaint or a foodborne illness complaint, I should say. So you can use it to do a variety of inspections in your restaurants. But yeah, you can use it primarily in the housing portion for, you know, if you had a rental property where a tenant called and complained and you needed to go out and do a housing inspection for that complaint-based inspection, you could use it for that. You could use it as a baseline for your short-term rentals or any pre-rental inspection you needed to do.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Gene.
And script. I'm looking at the agenda, and I'm seeing that it's expressed on the agenda as Board of Health vote to approve municipal agreements, plural. We just approved the one that enters Nahant into this collaboration group. I'm wondering if that descriptor in the agenda is enough to cover us for this second vote on the software.
Yes, because they're related. If you look at the language of the relevant software agreement, it actually references the municipal agreement. So yeah, they're one in this. They're not one and the same, obviously, but they are related. So I'm comfortable with that description.
Yeah, and there is Okay, that's good. So moving on to if we are allowed to vote, and certainly would be convenient to do them both agreements at the same time, both votes at the same time. I'm looking at the services fees for this software. They're not large, but they do exist. It looks like
I believe that's covered by the grant. David, I think David can, we address, John and I addressed this, and I believe we learned that that's covered by the grant. That's not coming out of our budget.
Right. It will be paid for through the grant.
okay. It's
It's
not a
listed-
huge number, but it is an expense. So I just wanted to make sure it wasn't affecting, our
No,
Town of
Meg,
Nahant's,
correct me if I'm
budget.
wrong, but it'll be paid for at least the next 3 years.
Only
okay.
pay for the iPad and all the equipment up front as well.
All right, that makes me feel more comfortable. Okay. Well, with that, Tony, if you have a motion in mind, please read it.
It would be, I move that the Board of Selectmen acting as the Board of Health authorize the town administrator to execute the software as a service agreement with Relevant Systems, Inc.
Seconded.
So moved. So moved by me and seconded by Gene Canty. Okay, any discussion?
Do we need any direct reference with respect to the softwares for one being Food Code Pro and the other being Housing Code Pro? Or is it just all inclusive?
No,
They-
Rob, inclusive. They and future code pros are all within the relevant contract.
Right.
Good. Thank you.
Gene, anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibbo, aye.
Josh Hanford, aye.
All right, thank you,
Okay.
John, Meg, and David again.
Yeah,
for
thank you,
joining.
guys.
Thank you all for
Meg.
your time.
Thank you,
We really
David.
appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Yeah, good luck with the program.
Thank you.
All right, ongoing business, Coast Guard housing update. Tony, you want to kick us off here?
Yes, thank you. I want to start with the RFP for the real estate brokers, the procurement process that we've recently gone through. Unfortunately, I've decided as the procurement officer to not award a contract with a real estate broker. We went through this process and want to thank, the 5 proposals that we received. They were well thought out and certainly a lot of effort put into them. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned before, the process that we were going through, it went a little off course. According to Chapter 30B, and according to the RFP that we published, the process that this procurement would take for the real estate broker was one, that the proposers would submit a non-price proposal and a price proposal. The non-price proposals would be sent to the review team for scoring. And then those scorecards would be submitted to me as the procurement officer. Then I would open the price proposals and review those with the scorecards and make a determination. Unfortunately, both the non-price proposals and the price proposals were sent to the review team. Now, I've spoken with the review team. I've spoken with council. We don't believe that the price proposals influenced the scoring of the non-price proposals in any way. In fact, I don't think all the members of the review team even saw them. And council has advised us that we could award and move forward based on that fact, but we do run the risk of a potential bid protest because of how that process went. And while I'm not really worried about the bid protests in the sense that we wouldn't, come out fine on the other end of that process, it would be timely. And the ultimate goal of the town here is to sell enough lots to make enough money to pay off our debt in January. So when looking at the process and looking and being faced with the decision of awarding, rebidding, or not awarding, awarding and rebidding both come with with additional timeframes that I think runs a risk of us accomplishing our main goal. The other element too was that's not subject to Chapter 30B, but we added an additional layer of process in this procurement, where we decided that the proposals that were submitted would be redacted by council before being submitted to the review team. That's not required by Chapter 30B, not required by general law, but we wanted to add that to make sure that we kept a nice, fair and equal process, especially a small town expecting multiple proposals from local realtors. We want to make sure that the review team, was able to score without knowing who the proposer was. Unfortunately, two of the proposals, one minor redaction in each was missed. And again, I don't think it influenced the scoring of the proposals. And I don't think all members of the review team even saw it or caught it. It was corrected. But it does put it does kind of negate the added layer of protection that we were aiming for there. So in light of that, and in light of the potential bid protest, I'm choosing, and with the board's approval, to not award the contract and to just move right into putting lots on up for procurement for the sale of the properties. So we're going to be, I've notified the folks who proposed through the procurement process that we weren't going to be awarding, and explained to them that, we're grateful for them to submit proposals and it was at no fault of their own. And I've also asked them if they'd be willing to have a discussion with me about, some of the questions that we might have regarding the specifics of the next procurement. But we're internally, I'm meeting with council tomorrow to get that next procurement document finalized, or at least as close to finalized as possible, so that we can hit the central registrar in early August, so that we can have this next procurement on the street, and hopefully sell these lots, or sell as many of these lots as possible before January, so that we can pay off our debt.
Okay, I'll add a little bit to that, Tony. I was on the review team, and I was the member of the review team that opened the price proposal and saw those price proposals. I can honestly say it did not influence my non-price proposal ranking. But as Tony pointed out, we don't want to run the risk of a bid protest. Not that. And I also said, well, why don't we just do it without eliminating my non-price proposal assessment, because the other two were consistent. But we don't want to take the risk of a bid protest because it would involve a delay in putting the houses on the market. With regard to the redaction, I was also the one that noticed a couple names on a couple of the non-price proposals that didn't definitely identify who the proposer was, but it, as Tony said, there's only so many realtors in town with only so many names, and it gave me a pretty good guess. I contacted Dan Script and said, it looks to me like on page such and such of this one and page so and so of that one, there's an incomplete redaction. Dan redacted that and sent it back out to the other reviewers. I'm pretty confident they never saw those things that I picked up on, but nevertheless, we think the prudent thing is to proceed without a broker. We had an executive session about this last Thursday, met with KP Law representatives who would be handling the transaction anyway. So we're going to go into selling the lots without a broker, as Tony said. We'll see how it goes. The other factor in this is it essentially eliminates the town having to pay a commission to a broker. So it represents a cost savings to the town to try it this way. If for some reason or other it is difficult to sell the lots, we can always go back to the broker approach. But we thought the prudent thing was to move forward with the brokerless approach immediately and see how it goes, save the commission money, and that's the plan. So tomorrow afternoon, Tony and I are meeting with KP Law representatives to put out the proper notification of sale notices and that sort of thing. That's probably going to take a few weeks you need a couple weeks of notice, I think, and so on. So probably 3 to 4 weeks, the first lot will hit the market. Would you agree with all that, Tony?
Yeah, that's the goal. That's certainly the goal. We want to make sure that, that the first lot is, or we're opening bids for the first lot by the end of either at the very end of August or early September. We want to get this process going. Again, the bringing on a broker was not required for this process. It was something that we talked a lot about and decided to, move forward with because we wanted to get some professional assistance on, developing the specifics of the RFP, the number of lots that will be included, which lots, setting a minimum price, things, specific questions like that. In my email to the proposers, I asked them if they would be willing to have a discussion with me about those questions. And I've already received a couple responses saying yes. So I'm hopeful we'll get some information there. We, without a broker, we're not able to put them on MLS, but we can still put the lots up on Zillow or other, MLS type online services, websites like that. Again, that's not required either through our Chapter 30B process, but it's something that we want to do to get as much attention as possible.
If I can, this direction we're taking now. We had talked about this months ago and elected not to go in that direction. But I must say I'm happy that we are going in this direction. I think it's a good decision on all of our parts. And I don't think that any mishap caused this. This was just good, solid thinking, saving the town monies that it needn't expend.
Yeah, thank you for that, Gene. I guess I'll point out if I missed it earlier that when we met in executive session last week, and we as a board we did take a vote as to whether we want to proceed by this method, and it was voted unanimously unanimously in favor of this approach. So we're united in the thinking that this is the best approach for the town, at least for the time being.
Right, and as you mentioned, Josh, we can revisit it, before the second offering if we think we should. So it's not something that we can't revisit again. It's, really, I think the deciding factor for us was the time crunch, to get lots out on the street as soon as possible.
Yeah, Rob, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think I remember a comment from KP Law that they have followed a similar procedure with other municipalities in the sale of property. This is
Yeah,
not
they
new to
did say
them.
that.
They have experience with this. So
Yeah.
that just boosts my confidence that we're on the right track here.
Yeah, and they said they've handled hundreds of these, I think was the number, so.
So that's the update on the RFP. Dan, do you have any update on litigation that you want to provide?
Yeah, good news. We have reached an agreement in theory with one of the units on Goddard. We're waiting we're going to finalize that in writing probably next week, so that's a very good thing. And the settlement with the property on Castle Road is moving along very nicely. Everything is happening as it should. So that property should be vacant in a week and a day. So that's about it for there. And then we're still battling it out with the other one on Goddard. So that's where we are.
So so I've reached out to American Environmental and Axiom, the two contractors that we pulled in for the demolition of the other 9 units, and asked them to submit change order quotes for getting them to come back out and remove Castle Road and potentially another property on Goddard sometime soon. So it's possible that those will be available to be included in the RFP, or held off for the next one, but for the next offering. But we're working on that as well. And I also have a call. And then lastly, we have the Castle Road sidewalk issue that's part of this process too. Zach and I have a virtual meeting with Stan Tech, who we hired to do some engineering work for us to figure out solution for that. And we're meeting with them, I believe, tomorrow morning, virtually, to go over the progress that they're making. So there's a lot of different elements here that are kind of in flow.
So just to add to that a little bit, the second property, I believe the agreement is the tenant would be out by Labor Day. So that means that sometime after Labor Day, those 2 lots would be cleared, depending on the timing of American Environmental availability. Right. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, discussion regarding rights of way and potential subcommittee. I asked that this be put on the agenda because the topic of rights of way is near and dear my heart, and I think maybe some others as well. The town at town meeting has a couple times funded through CPC grants work towards the goal of mapping, surveying, etc., the rights of ways. And it's tough to make progress, honestly. It's one of these things that I feel like we should consider having a committee that's sort of focused solely on this. It's the progress is slower than I would like. I guess I'll just say it that way. And I don't think it's I don't say that it's through no fault of anyone's, but this is really it's a 25-year problem at this point. And so I guess my thinking is that perhaps a committee that has no other charge other than seeing what can be done to push this forward would be one approach. I'm interested in whatever Gene and Rob or anybody else has as an alternative approach, or what your thoughts are on that approach. You know, some of these are a big challenge. In some cases, you know, abutters aren't cooperating. I guess my feeling is, you know, let's if we can resolve the easy ones, let's say, if there are any easy ones, if we can get those squared away and, you know, continue to fight the good fight on the ones that are more challenging, as Dan and Tony have been doing, you know. But what do you think, Rob and Gene, if you're, I see you're out of the screen, but any thoughts on approaches?
Josh, I think it's something that's long overdue. My question first is, I know we had some sort of committee in the past that would go out and at least walk through the right of ways on a yearly basis. And I'm curious, do we have any sort of a guidelines, a plan in place as far as what the responsibilities of these committee members would have here in trying to move this forward?
Well, I don't. It's just an idea at this point.
Okay.
You know, one of the things it seems like it's way more complicated than it seems from the outside looking in. And you know, I know Dan has been living this for quite a while. Seems so simple, but it's not. And the other thing is, you know, is it a planning board topic? Is it an open space committee topic? Is it a board of selectmen topic? Is it a town administrator topic? And I hesitate to use the word falls through the cracks, but it feels like that sometimes. So to answer your question, no, I don't have any specific idea other than, you know, is there a way we can get a group of people really focused on this? And, you know, obviously we would need to do exactly what you just described. Say, okay, here's your task. Here's your task. Here's your responsibilities. You know, here's your limits of what you can and can't do. So it's just an idea at this point. But I agree with you that it's overdue. And so I'm just trying to find a way to sort of break what seems to be something like gridlock.
So do we need to touch base with the planning board to see, you know, kind of feel out their interest in this before we start taking steps?
I see Sheila motioning like she thinks so. Sheila, what you have something to say?
I just wanted to, at least just from the very beginning, give a slight bit of history. The Nahant Women's Club started the perambulation, I think, around 1890. And they did it up until, I think, the 1960s or 70s. And then it just fell off the track. I think most of the women in the women's club just got too elderly and actually couldn't perform and do all the different walks, etc. In 1990, a planning board member, also being a women's club member and president at the time of the women's club, asked the planning board if they would help sponsor the perambulation. And so the planning board and women's club for a number of years did do that. I saw some noise on Facebook, maybe the Nahant residents page. I did not speak up or answer to anything because I know that I have a couple of reports and books of some of our walks from all the different groups that they were assigned, and that they wrote a report and we put it together. Those reports back from the 1990s were given to both the Board of Selectmen and the public library. And so I don't know what has happened with that. I wish maybe that we had also thought about the Historical Society to have, a document maintained forever there, but I don't think that they got them. But I know that I have some, and I have not had a chance to put my hands on them, but we'll do that and we'll get a copy to everybody. And I think that's a good start.
Yeah, I thanks for that, Sheila. Thanks for the history and what I'd like to see ultimately is a map of Nahant that shows on the Nahant.org website, not the Garden Club website or the Historical Society, Nahant.org. Here's a map of Nahant. Here's all the rights of ways, and so everybody knows where they are. They're not, stuck in one map here and another map in someone's file cabinet, and markings. We have some marked, but they should all be marked. If you have I know I've seen what they've done in Rockport. It's a great example. They have a committee. You go there, the rights of ways are all marked and they're open. And we're not there, but that would be the example of what I hope we get to.
Marblehead has the same thing. So we're not, we're and we did. The planning board received a lot of money, which we did use for surveying, and we started in Little Nahant, all of the rights of ways, and we had them bound. So there are stone bounds at the corners of every single right of way, and signs were put up, but I believe they were all torn down. I don't know who tore them down, but all the signs for the right of ways were all torn down, unfortunately. But given that, the assessor's maps actually show and are identified as rights of ways. So if you go to the Nahant.org website and go to the GIS and tax maps, you will see at least what is a right of way. And you have to remember that roads are rights of ways also. So some are on paper, some, are regular roads with names, and others are passageways that do not have names. But they are on the town's website, and you can look at it and zoom in and look all around town to see the different rights. And I have the public path that's been on there since, 1800s, is from Northeastern all the way down to Lafayette Terrace. And also the boardwalk that used to be along Little Nahant, Short Beach up to Mills Terrace, though I forget which storm took most of it away, and Bob Steves had to tear the rest of it down. But the boardwalk is still listed as a right of way along the rocks.
Yeah, since some things have changed, like erosion is taking a lot of that pathway away, like behind Costins and stuff. But anyway, that's what I'm thinking. And it's interesting that you can get there on our website by looking at GIS maps and so on. But I just want people to be able to say, type in rights of ways and not have to be a detective.
Well, I can do that. It'll be a layer on the GIS if you want.
So we know. Let me just jump in there. We know what the ultimate goal is. We're all on board with the ultimate goals, but there's, as you mentioned, it's very complex. There's a lot of steps we got to take before. We don't want to be, encouraging folks to walk on rights of ways that we don't have 100% confirmation that they are, in fact, public rights of ways. So we've put together, we've gotten some funds together. We've hired a title researcher to look into it. So the first step, and is to really make sure that the title is appropriate for us to, advertise that it's a right of way. Then we have to discover if there's an encroachment. If there's an encroachment, if there's an issue, we got to try and solve that problem too, which can sometimes bring in legal issues. But it is one of those things that, because there's so many, and because there's so many complexities with each individual one, they tends to, slow the progress of what, towards our ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And so that's, in the conversation, Josh, that you and I had was be good to have a committee, a group of people that this is their task. This is what they're doing. So, to me, I think what we're doing tonight is kind of talking through, or just kind of general discussion of, where does that committee sit? Who should be on that committee? What their tasks should be. I would think that, we should ask the planning board if they want to have involvement, if they want to, if it should be a subcommittee of theirs, or if it should be, if they'd like to have representation on it. Sheila would be the, sorry to volunteer you, Sheila, but, from the assessor's office, you're a perfect person because oftentimes, you're one of the first steps for me is to check, what the records are on the property. Open space and recreation planning committee might be a group that may want to have some representation on there. So those are the types of things that I think we want to iron out.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you bring up a good point about, what the process needs to be, Tony, and maybe that's job one, is laying out that process as a roadmap or a flow chart, so that everybody has a common understanding of what it takes to get there. So I guess my thought at this point would be, we've opened up the topic, and then so we just continue this discussion, with you, if you don't mind, Tony, being kind of the point man, that we can, that Rob and Jean can express their views, and contact the other relevant boards, planning board and open space and so on, and just kind of see what recommendation we can put together for how to formulate such a committee and hopefully move things forward. What do you say?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
I could use the help of other volunteers to, make sure that progress on this topic continues to move forward.
Well, we have 3 or 4 that didn't get elected to the planning board that maybe someone of them would like to participate.
Yeah, I'll volunteer.
Okay.
All right, so we'll figure all that out if that sounds good to you. So that's really all I wanted to I had in mind for discussion for tonight.
Can I ask a question?
Can you just wait for citizens forum, George?
Yeah, well, this question was for the right to ways about the preambulation. There's a lot of talk going on of why we aren't doing it, and perhaps we should be. I thought that back in the 90s, like Sheila said, that we did a study around Little Nahant, supposedly, and documented everything, and everything was supposedly all legalized and so on and so forth. So there was no need for the preambulation. Can anybody set the record straight? Is there a need for preambulation, or now that we are documenting all these rights of ways, can we stop walking them, or do we need to start walking them?
Go ahead, Dan.
Preambulation is a colonial statute that's outdated. That was a vital thing back when settlers had to declare their own land from squatters and people like that. when property was divided up by rock walls and whatnot. It's no longer relevant. It was only, as far as I know, it's only a ceremonial thing that the Women's Club did. It wasn't legally required, and it is today.
Okay, thank you. And also, I'll volunteer, Tony, if you need any help.
Okay, thanks, George.
Okay, next up is preserving East Point. Not sure where we're at the last selectmen's meeting, but where we're at now is our lack of the correct legal term, but our rebuttal to Northeastern Damages claim was due July 26th. But that has been stayed, as they say, meaning postponed. And now there's a hearing set for August 2nd by Judge Karp to discuss basically the particulars of the next steps. So that's really about it. I don't know if it's not very detailed, but that's kind of where we're at. I don't know if you have anything to add there, Tony. I know you were at the last meeting we had with the lawyers.
I think they're next. I think the lawyers from both sides are meeting with the judge, I think August 2nd. Did you say that?
Yep. August 2nd, yep.
So I think we'll have hopefully have some update on what the process of this next phase of the litigation is going to be after that meeting.
Yeah, it sounded like that August 2nd hearing wasn't to make decisions, but really to define the process going forward. So that's really it. Town administrator report.
Okay, thank you. So first is National Grid power outage. So they were able to complete their job last night. Sounds like it was only power was out for maybe 3 to 4 hours. I understand there was some confusion because of National Grid's notice that they put out and the street list that they had included on that. Even when I saw that notice, I kind of assumed that based on the job that how it was explained to me that they might not have all the streets listed on there. That's why the town's communication indicated that everybody would lose power. The only real portion of Nahant that I was thinking might not is Little Nahant because they're on a separate circuit, but I wasn't sure if the job that they were doing at the substation would influence Little Nahant or not. But I don't think Little Nahant ended up losing power. So I believe, my understanding is the job was successful. And if we go back to, the reason they were doing this job was planned was because if they needed to do the repair in an emergency, it could have led to a 24-hour power outage. So, doing it this way and planning for it, they were able to get it done in 4 hours or less. We also worked with some of the local companies, restaurants and function halls. We're able to have National Grid pay for a freezer truck to be brought into town, not knowing how long the power was going to be out, and made that available to local businesses with any frozen product that they were concerned about losing. So that was a nice add-on to offer our local businesses. Let's see. I wanted to talk quickly about Short Beach Dune Hazard Mitigation Grant update. So there is going to be a posting in the newspaper and online and here at the town hall. FEMA and MEMA are continuing to work with the town on the hazard mitigation grant for Short Beach. This is for improving the height of the dune. This week, as I've said, the public notice will be published regarding the completion and compliance with programmatic environmental assessment. The public notice also serves as the initial notice of FEMA's intent to provide funding through hazard mitigation grant program to the town of Nahant. The overall timeline is still not prescribed, and additional details should be forthcoming after the next meeting that we have with FEMA and MEMA, which is scheduled for the beginning of August. So we got notice from FEMA that we were required to publicize this intent to provide funding through the program. It doesn't necessarily mean that we've been awarded the grant, but in speaking with folks at MEMA, it's certainly a sign in the right step. You know, it's a step in the right direction. It's a good sign for the town. So I'm very much looking forward to our meeting in August. Again, just to remind folks, you know, this grant is it's almost $4.5 million. So it would be the largest grant in town's history if we're able to accomplish receiving it. So we've spent a lot of time, a lot of work on it, a lot of back and forth, in-person meetings and virtual meetings with FEMA and MEMA, and seems like we're making some progress there. So keep our fingers crossed on that. On 40 Steps, Coastal Bank project, we're in the permitting phase of this project. It was scheduled to be in front of the Concom this past week. It's been continued until August 21st at 7 p.m. This is an NOI for the stabilization and mixed sediment nourishment project. The public, I believe the Concom is going to do this meeting as a hybrid meeting. So if anyone's interested in hearing more about the proposed design, you can either attend the Concom meeting in person at Town Hall or online. That'll be at 7 p.m. on August 21st. The MEPA review of the project will be finalized August 16th. The remaining regulatory steps for the project with DEP and Army Corps will continue through the fall, with permits expected in the late spring and early summer of 2025. But just to remind folks, at this time, no funding has been allocated for the construction of the project. The funding for the design and the permitting phases, which we're in now, were funded through grants from the state. So if we get it permitted, if we get through the MEPA phase, then we'll be seeking grants and other funding opportunities for the construction of the project.
Tony, what date is the 27th fall on?
The Concom meeting is the 21st.
21st.
Yes, so that is usually a Wednesday. Yep, so it's a Wednesday. It's actually going to be at the same, we have a meeting that night too.
Right.
So I'll be trying to do both.
We could consider shifting around.
That might be a good idea. That's an important project.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can we'll talk to you guys about scheduling that. I can talk with Chris. I think they have to have their meeting that night. I believe it's based on a set schedule, so. All right, next on my list, any other questions about 40 Steps or Short Beach from the board?
Nope.
So next on my list is Willow Road, Wharf Street intersection, MBTA bus stop and crosswalk improvements. So similar to what occurred on Nahant Road, MBTA has a program running now where they're trying to improve ADA accessibility at their stops. This was the second stop that we put in front of the MBTA to look at. I have a plan. I can share my screen. They're going to be going, let's see. Here's the screen. So this is Willow Road going left to right, Wharf Street coming from the top, and the entrance to the wharf down the bottom. The current, can you see my mouse, Josh?
Yep.
The current MBTA bus stop is actually here in the middle of the island entering the wharf. And
Yeah.
so obviously there's no safe way for pedestrians to get there, to wait there. I don't think they even stop there now because of that. So the bus stop will actually move to the left, by Margarine Park. They will install a new sidewalk, new ADA ramp, a crosswalk that'll get across Willow Road with another ADA ramp on that side. And then I also asked them to include a crossing of Wharf Street with ADA ramps on both sides as well. So, with the improved bus stop, all paid for through the MBTA, we'll get some improved sidewalks. We'll get crosswalks that are non-existent now, which hopefully will, not only beautify the area, but help slow down traffic and improve pedestrian safety in this area.
Tony, question on this. I think it would be a great project. But to add to it, I've had a few people because of this ask the question, speed bumps on Willow Road, marginal speed bumps. Is that something we've ever dealt with?
I've dealt with the request. I've been asked that in the past. None of our roadways really call for speed bumps. We don't have enough traffic that really justifies the need for speed bumps. And there's a negative impact that it slows down our ability to respond to emergency calls. Like our police, fire, and ambulance would have to slow down, for those same speed bumps.
Just a question.
Yeah, well, that's the answer. The answer has really been that we haven't, I think there's a tendency for people to, ask for speed bumps for speeding issues. Usually, when we do a study on the traffic patterns in that area, every road is different, but rarely does it ever show that there really is a speeding issue. And then when there is a speeding issue, we've employed alternative measures like a digital speed sign and center line slowdown signs, like we did on Willow Road on the other side over by the golf course. And it's worked out tremendously. So there are other tools that we can use that don't have a negative impact on our ability to respond to emergency calls.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to say that the changes made on Willow Road really did seem to address that problem. And the neighbors are, I think, happy with that result.
They
don't
are.
have to drive over a speed bump every day. All right. Is that it, Tony?
Yes, that's all on my list.
Okay, next up is citizens forum. So anybody that's on the Zoom call that has something to say, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand on your screen and state your name and address. And
Josh, one more thing, can I please?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Before we continue, something to discuss, to talk about, not to even get into tonight, but I have a request at the next meeting on the next agenda to talk about a 5 selectman board. Just something that's been kind of floating its way around, and I'm not sure if I think it's a good idea or not a good idea, but I think it's something I'd like to at least start discussion on.
Okay.
If we could dovetail that conversation to include changing the name from Board of Selectmen to Select Board, I think there'd be some value in that also.
Okay. All right. Maybe Ken Carangelo got his hand up first. You're muted, Ken.
Yeah, I think Brendan actually
Oh,
actually was in front of me.
well, okay then. Brendan. Brendan, are you able to unmute? There you go.
Brendan Bronick, Olmsted, 2 Summer Street. I guess following up about the RFP process for the Coast Guard housing, I guess I have some procedural questions. Has the process for receiving and redacting RFP submittals been revised? Given, it sounds like there was a breakdown in the process. So that I guess has the town looked at the current process, the process that they went through, and what revisions has the town implemented to correct and make sure there isn't a repeat?
Well, I'm gonna take a shot at that one, and I'll let Tony and Dan or anybody add or correct me. But I don't think we have a process. I want to point out that redaction, that we did the redaction, that was completely voluntary. It was not mandatory. It was something we thought, we want to be as fair as possible. We want to appear to be as fair as possible. And so we undertook that voluntarily, knowing that, it's a small town. There's only so many real estate brokers in the town or even, in the region. So to try to be as fair as possible, we elected to do the redaction. It's not a requirement. So I don't think there's a process to correct. That's my take on it. And Tony or Dan, feel free to correct me.
I would just add that well, Dan, you could speak better to it probably than I, but I think, looking at the redacted proposals, there must have been about 30 on each set. There was quite a significant amount of redactions for each proposal that was submitted. And the 2 that were missed, one on 2 different proposals, were like very minimal. It wasn't like in the address line or something like that. I forget what it was actually. It was like it was
a first name, 3-lettered first name, and I think a reference to an email or something very.
It was a reference to a publication that contained a last name that gave me a guess, and the other one was a first name that gave me a guess, a common first name, but it was like, if I were to guess, I would guess it might be this person. And that's why I reached out to Dan and had him do the additional redaction. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the documents, and we can, happy to share those, there's a lot of redactions. So, missing a first name or a name on a document, I mean, easily done.
Well, I guess then the follow-up is there was, I guess, the information that was emailed out was supposed to be segregated, so that it sounds like there was a breakdown in how the RFP information was supposed to be distributed to the review team. So I guess has that process been revised now, or at least people been retrained, or at least communicated to understand what action should have been taken, is necessary for the future?
I mean, I expect we're gonna be doing this often, but or ever again, but I've kind of lost track of the question. Okay, yeah. So I think I will admit, if I shouldn't have been sent a price proposal in the first place, but I also should have known from reading the RFP, which was like 50 pages long, that had I received one, I shouldn't have opened it. So I don't know. You can retrain me if you want.
I I would, I kind of tried to keep myself out of that part of the process to try to add an extra layer of, uh, protection and keep it as fair. And so I, provided when the proposals came in, they were sealed. I gave them right to counsel, asked them to redact and to send them to the review team directly. So that way there was, I wasn't even involved in those steps, but I could have been more clear that only the non-price proposals were to be sent to the review team. So in a way, my attempt to create a process that was extremely transparent in that it was, completely unbiased and uninfluenced. I also, eliminated myself as the procurement officer from overseeing those exact steps. So in the future, I'll stay more involved in that.
All right. I guess my last, I guess, question, I guess, was how much was the broker's fees, and then how much, I guess, was the time and effort from the town in order to put the RFP together? So, like, if the broker's fee was going to be like $20,000, did like the town and time and effort expend $18,000, $30,000 to put together the RFP and review it?
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. I don't think it's that close.
Yeah, I just made up numbers.
But I think the commission rates that were submitted ranged anywhere from 2 to 4.5%. So it's not a perfect
Yep.
way to answer your question.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, but 2% of what all 12 lots go for is, well over $100,000. So the RFP process was far less than that. Yeah.
All right, Ken.
Hi, Ken Carangelo, 81 Willow Road. Let's see, Brendan asked part of what I wanted. With regard to the Coast Guard housing, you talked a little bit about the process. I guess more generally, right? What is the process for redacting things? In other words, like this process, some of which was, as you mentioned, voluntary, right? It didn't even need to be redacted, but for things like FOIA requests, et cetera, there seems to be, I don't know if it's a bottleneck or what you want to call it, but what is the process for deciding what's redacted and what isn't? And like the federal government was doing, 10 or 20 years ago, right? Or is the town over redacting stuff that doesn't need to be redacted?
Well, FOIA request is a totally different animal. This was in order to, we knew that, or we assumed that we were going to get proposals from realtors locally, and there's not that many of them. And so we really wanted to, put forward a process that would eliminate any suspicion of biased or influenced scoring. Whether in that process or the next process, we want to make sure that it's sound and that there's confidence that, the process is being followed to a T, so that there is no, funny business going on.
Yeah, well, I guess
the redaction part that, slightly fell short in two cases there. Again, that is a part of the reason why we decided not to award. The larger part, to me, is the process, which is clear by 30B and clear in the RFP, that the review team would only receive the non-price proposals. Not the price proposals. And while I don't think it influenced their scoring, it's enough for
Okay.
someone to write a simple email to the state and protest the bid, and then we're locked into a bid protest process, which delays our ability to start selling the lots, which jeopardizes our ability to pay off the loan by January. So it's almost not worth it to run that risk, in my opinion. It's unfortunate.
Understood. I guess let me ask
It
this.
also,
Go ahead, Josh. I'm
it
sorry.
also seemed to be the preference of Selectman Canty and Thibault to go this route as well.
No,
regardless of any issues with the broker RFP.
Okay. Thank you. Without a broker in the mix, right? How will the town determine the listing prices for the next round, and who will be acting to maximize the value that the town gets, basically taking on the role that the broker would otherwise have had?
So, as I said, I've reached out, I sent an email to the folks that had submitted proposals, asked them if they would be interested in having a conversation with us to talk about some of those details of how to find, in what's the best way to approach the RFP for selling the lots and the current market. We got an appraisal on a Castle Road property, a Gardner Road property, and a Goddard Drive property. So we can use that appraisal to help influence our decision. We're not required to set a minimum price in the procurement process. It may be in the town's best interest to set a minimum price. So we're gonna have some of those conversations in the next couple of days.
Okay, I mean, I guess I'm just thinking through any one of us who has bought or sold a house at some point, right? It's not a one and done discussion, right? There is negotiation, there's haggling, there's details, etc. And again, usually the broker is the central point for all that. So how will that work?
So this isn't, it's a good question.
Who will act as a broker?
This is unlike your typical real estate transaction where we won't be accepting contingencies. There really won't be negotiating. The purchase and sale document will be included in the RFP. There's no open houses. There's no home inspections. Procurement pretty much dictates the process that it will go to the highest qualified bidder. So, the procurement will say, we've talked about this before, but just to repeat it,
just clarifying. Yep.
Lot one, let's say we put 6 lots up for sale in the first offering. And let's say those lots are 1, 2, 4, 6, and 8. For example, the procurement could say lot number 1, the bids are due on Monday at 10 a.m. And in a public setting, the bids are going to be opened at 10:01. So the bids are opened, you read out name, do they meet the qualifications, and the price that they bid. And whoever's the highest apparent bidder, we reach out our legal counsel. So all that happens after that process is all legal between our attorneys and their attorneys. It doesn't really involve the broker in that process because there is no negotiation.
Okay. No, that's helpful. It is obviously different than what most people are used to in terms of these transactions. So that is helpful. I just want to point out that Tony, when you were describing the sale, you again mentioned, and also I believe in the email that went to the people who did not get the bid, that the objective was to sell enough of the properties to pay off the debt. I think I brought this up last time. The warrant article does say pay off the debt, but it also says sell 12 lots. So, and again, and Dan last time mentioned you guys can do whatever you want. And Josh affirmed like he doesn't want to just sell 6 and then do something else. All that said, it's just this is what Go ahead, Dan.
I didn't say they can do whatever they want. I said
You
that
said-
the town meeting gave them authorization to make the sale, but they don't have to follow the authorization, but they also can't contradict town meeting vote.
Understood. I believe your exact quote was, we aren't being, what do you call it? We don't have to do anything, I think was the.
And that's still
exact
true,
words.
but that doesn't mean we can contradict town meeting.
Okay.
We don't, it's only an authorization.
No, understood. I guess I just bring this up because this is one of those things where people start buzzing and there's a perceived lack of transparency and then concerns that stuff is going on that isn't.
Yeah.
So
The goal, the number one goal for us right now is to pay off that debt. We have every intention of selling all these lots as town meeting authorizes to do. How many lots we put in the first offering, to me, is part of the conversation we're gonna have with some of the realtors over the next couple days, based on the time of year, the current market, the other properties that are up for sale right now in Nahant. A realtor might come in here and say, put all 12 lots. Well, obviously we can't put all 12 because we still have some that are occupied, but put everything you have up for sale in your first offering, you know, or they might say, do half and half, you know, hit some of them now and hit some of them in the spring. They might say, put all your Castle Road ones up first and then put all your Goddard ones up later. They might say the opposite. I don't know. We don't know. And that's where we'd like to get some information from them to help guide us on that. And obviously, but the biggest element for us is making sure that we pay that debt down that's due in January. That's why I wrote it that way.
Okay. Understood. Hopefully there's going to be more than 2.5 million to do something with. Okay, and I know we're late here, so let me just go quick. Regarding the rights of way, Sheila, she called it noise, but with regard to the discussion on Facebook, I just emailed you guys about half an hour ago, sort of the stuff that I've been able to find. Well, the perambulation as it was run was initiated by the Women's Club. It was also part of what the planning board was doing. So there was a publicly organized perambulation in 2005 that was in the newspapers, and then the planning board states in their 2008 annual report that they have not done the perambulation for another year, meaning that it wasn't done in 2008 and also wasn't done in 2007. So it would appear somewhere in 2006, a conscious decision was made to not do this, whether it was the planning board or whatever. And I only raised that, and you can read through all this stuff. This issue appears to be on like a 7-year cycle of coming back. And obviously it's challenging because it deals with people's private property. But I guess, as Sheila mentioned, these books are, the questions have been answered at some point. And I guess I would just encourage, before creating another committee, it may be worth doing some homework to see how this issue has been addressed. I don't know how many times in the town's history, but it's been more than one. So I think it would be wise to not, start with a blank slate, and learn from what's been done before, because it has been done before.
Obviously, that's going to be job number one, is collecting all the historical data.
Historical data.
Tom Quinn, you're not muted, so
sorry.
Be careful what you say. That's all right.
Yeah. That's right. So Tony,
Not
just
the
one
first
more
time.
thing. In the May 2023 town meeting, there was a $20,000 grant from community preservation to mark rights of way. So what happened with that?
So it was more for like title research. So we hired a title researcher to first look at from, Dan, remind me, back like 1800s or early 1900s to look at.
Yeah, Little Nahant was split up in like 1910. It was owned by the Little Nahant Land Company. I think that was one of them. And there was some sort of trust. I forgot the woman's name. And then it was literally split up. If you look at the plan, they're all sliced up into like, I don't know, 210 parcels. And then they kept the right of ways were really born out of that land company keeping those rights of ways in their own name. So that's how that whole thing started. So
And
she
so-
went back, I think, late 1800s.
Yeah, so she did research to find out, any transfers of rights of property to the town of Nahant since the 1800s and didn't find much. So the next step of the process is to, target specific rights of ways and do specific title research on those properties themselves. In the past, when I first started, and I think it was on the heels of the previous town administrator, there had been survey work and communication to abutters of rights of ways in Little Nahant. And then Dan, you and I did another round of communication, formal, communication with the abutters as well. We did site visits. But then when we were dealing with the issue at the end of Wilson Road and Little Nahant Road, the one at the end that we talk about every Board of Selectmen meeting, we discovered that there's some title issue, which led us to the point of how did the town, go through this process of survey work and a butter notification, and miss this title issue. So this question of, did the title research occur, prior to that progress being made by the previous town administrator of hiring someone to do survey work? So again, I think, for us, it really starts there. We have stuff on GIS, we have some historical information, but if you don't have the title research done that shows that the town in fact does have ownership of that property, then you really don't have the legal right to deal with encroachment or try to, activate a right of way. So that is, I think, what's been missing. And I don't think any surveys really happened in Big Nahant, except for maybe one. Big Nahant was split into 16 different sections, and I think just one of the 16 might have gotten some preliminary survey work. And I think that was done through the planning board process. So
So this is all the stuff we got to sort out.
I know he's not here anymore, but Mark was in the middle of this for a good long time. So, and again, the key year of 2006 is where something changed. So it may be helpful to chat with him to understand what happened.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna give someone else a chance, Ken.
I'm done. Thank you.
That's something probably open Pandora's box. But Ken, I got a little problem with you or somebody questioning the transparency of this board. This whole process has been out front. Anything that hasn't been out front has been brought out front. And the only reason it changed is because we wanted to be transparent.
Gene, all I'm doing, I'm trying to do you guys a bit of a service here, right? Because you've expressed, not just you, but all the selectmen and Tony have expressed frustration because you keep saying that it's transparent, and yet people are saying, why aren't you showing us X, Y, and Z, or it isn't transparent? So I'm trying to sort of bridge the two, right, for myself, but also in people's minds. So it's not. There's no mystery, and what Tony described is fine. That's what happened. It doesn't address what happens for future processes. But again, I'm not trying to accuse you. I'm trying to actually get some communication with people who are sort of throwing stones from the side, and those of us who actually want to know what's going on.
Well, Ken, maybe when those stones get thrown, you can let them know that you've asked us multiple times, and Mark, when he was a member of the board, and this board, and I have repeatedly stated that we fully intend to follow what was authorized at town meeting and sell all these individual lots. It's been said multiple times, and I don't know what else we can
Yeah.
do.
I guess
Until
I would
after the
say,
fact,
I'd say,
we told
don't,
you.
I guess I'd add, why don't you get out of your gossip circles and get off of Facebook and act like an adult and ask us to our face in a selectmen's meeting. We have an open meeting. Every meeting is an open meeting. Every meeting is on YouTube. Grow up.
Here I am.
I'm not talking to you, Ken, because you do
I
what I'm
know.
advocating. I'm talking about the gossipers who are making these false accusations. And it's, Gene was kind. It's more than a little annoying. It's very annoying.
Well, I think the other thing too, Ken, just to bring it back up, Tony said it. He gave you a number. After looking at the number, the question to one attorney was simply, what is a broker going? And during this communication, we were having a chat. What is the broker's responsibility in all of this? And it came down to an offer to sell. An offer to buy. That was it. So from there on, the law firm handles everything. And that's something people should know and should understand. We probably, with a vote, saved the town. I'm hoping we saved the town $150,000 or more.
Yep. It would have been good to have come to that conclusion a couple of months ago, and not gone through the whole procurement process.
Yeah, no, you're right. I have to agree with that. But we did, and we thought at the time different direction.
I agree with that too, Ken. And trust me, I'm kicking myself that we're in this position that we are in now. But I still think that there's some value to having a realtor on board, but it's not necessary, it's not required, and it's not worth the risk of getting tied up in a bid protest and everything else, as I said. So I understand. Trust me, I'm fully aware. I wish we weren't in the position we are, but we're gonna just move forward fast as we can.
Thank you. I'll shut up, Josh.
Okay. Hey, Tom Quinn, you were unmuted before. Did you have a question? Maybe not. Tom, did you have a question? You're still
Yes,
muted.
I do.
There you go.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Do you mind if there is a picnic bench, put it in Marjoram Park?
First, would you mind stating your name and address?
I'm sorry. Tom Quinn, 10 Christopher Drive, Nahant Road, Nahant, Mass. 10 Christopher Drive, Nahant, Mass.
Okay. Do we mind if there's a
picnic bench? Put it down at Marjoram Park. I talked to the wharfinger tonight. He didn't seem a problem. I didn't have a chance to talk to the harbor master, but I'm not sure what his thoughts are. But
luckily, it's the same guy.
Let me first say that you did not speak to the wharfinger tonight.
Okay, I apologize. I talked to the gentleman at the wharf tonight.
Tom, shoot me an email, or you and I can talk. I got a couple follow-up questions. There's nothing. There's you and I can catch up with that.
Oh yeah, no problem. We were walking down there today, and there was one in the past, and there were a few for the 4th of July celebration, but there haven't been any. So I just didn't know if there was a problem or a lack. And I know there's.
Let me just ask you this: Are you looking for like a memorial type picnic bench? Or are you just asking the town to put one there?
No, just to put one there. There's plenty of benches there. The memorial benches are there. I'm just thinking of family that might want to go down and have a bite to eat or just something on a picnic.
No problem.
Yeah.
We'll work on it.
But I had 2 other thoughts. I already forgot them. No worries. No, but that was the only thing. Picnic bench. Thank you very much. I appreciate your thoughts.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Tom. George?
Thank you.
No problem. George, did you had your hand up earlier?
Yes, George Verhoeven, 64 Lennox Road, Nahant. I remember that we were doing something about the right of way down in Little Nahant that would bring us down to Little Nahant, Short Beach. We used to call it the Welch's property. And we found out doing that a lot of the neighbors around that area had it in their deed that they had a right to cut across W.W. Welch's property. And in order to really get that right away back to where it is now, we had to have the abutters, I guess you would call them, sign off their right of way. And then the town, I guess, got the right of way for, I don't know how much, probably $1. And that's why it's there now. So has anybody thought about looking into neighbors of these people that are blocking the rights of ways and saying that, oh, no, we have a right to do it, or no, it's not in their deed. Maybe it's in other neighbors' deeds that says they have a right to use that property. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Yeah, you're right. Those property owners had right to that right of way, which a previous town administrator got them to all sign rights to the town. A little bit different from, I think, what you were suggesting for the other rights of ways. If it's a right of way that we have legal right to, and there's an encroachment on, we have the legal ability to correct that issue. If it's a right of way that we don't have legal title of, then whoever does, we can request that they sign rights to the town.
But yes, are we looking into that? In other words, with some of these rights of ways that are being contested, has anybody looked into the abutters around and see if they have it in their deed that they have a right of way to use this particular in their deed? Yeah, they have a
yes
use of this particular way. Are we exploring that avenue? In other words, instead of just looking at the abutter and that's shutting it down and saying, well, it's it really hasn't been transferred. I don't believe the right of way in Little Nahant that I was just talking about was ever transferred. It was it wasn't real. It was never a right of way that was owned by the town.
Yes, we are. It's part of, it kind of falls under the umbrella of the title research process.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, George. Anybody else? All right. I don't see anybody else. So we have a motion to move into I'll just say we're going to go into executive session. And we will not be returning to open session. So good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to adjourn to executive session pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, Northeastern University Marine Science Center, 430 Nahant Road, Nahant, and to discuss pending litigation strategy regarding the town of Nahant versus 3 Coast Guard housing tenants, if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body.
And I, the chair, do declare that an open meeting will have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, and we will not return to an open meeting.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibble, aye.
Josh Heffermeyer, aye. Thanks, everyone. An iPhone and iPhone 9. See you later.